going on, you guys? It's your boy Patrick, aka Addicted to Combat, back for another week of Best Bets and Props, where I go over all of my betting action for this weekend's UFC event, which is UFC Vegas 68, Derek Lewis versus Sergey Spivac in the rescheduled, potentially 5-round heavyweight clash in the main event. We also have We've got 4 sets of fights that make up the road to the UFC tournament finales in the flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, and lightweight divisions. You might not recognize a lot of these names, a lot of debuting fighters among these 12 fights on the card, but the matchmaking was done very well in my opinion, and I think it's going to deliver to be an exciting night of fights. So don't get caught sleeping on it because there aren't a lot of, recognizable UFC names, but also don't get caught sleeping on it because here in the United States, it's going to be very late. I think in the central time zone where I'm at, the prelims don't start until about 9 or 10 p.m., so it's going to be catered more towards the Asian viewers since this card was supposed to be in Seoul, Korea. But anyways, I'm going to try to make this as quick as I possibly can, a concise video as normal for the best bets and props. And I got 5 money lines, 3 underdogs, and 2 favorites, along with 3 props as well. So 8 total bets. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and let's break into the first money line of the night, which is Jung Young Lee to defeat Jia Yi. So Jung Young Lee is a very talented, explosive, and powerful featherweight from South Korea. This guy has got a very good record, and he's not finish dependent, even though he has 3 very quick finishes in his past 3 fights. He's got like less than a minute and a half of cage time among those last 3 fights. In the road to the UFC, he's scored back-to-back finishes in round 1, a knockout and a submission. But Jung Young Lee has got very good boxing. He loves to engage in firefights. He is very confident in his power and his chin. He showed very good durability in the past and also shown cardio in the past. Some of his decision results were actually very impressive to me. One of his winning decision bouts in particular, he showed that he still has power, in rounds 1, 2, and 3, and picks up like that second wind when he needs to engage in that. So I think Jia Yi, his opponent, is going to need to take this fight to the ground and hold Jung Young Lee there if he wants to have success in this fight. I just don't think he's going to be successful in doing that. So Jia Yi has got a very impressive record and more experience, but it's against a mixed bag of inexperienced and just not very trustworthy competition among some better fights as well. But he should be the better grappler, but Jia Yi is also dealing with the unknown because Jung Young Lee is explosive and he hasn't had his grappling defense tested a whole lot. So I'm going to trust in Jung Young Lee. Minus 245 on the money line is where I got it at. I did only put 1.5 units on that to win less than a unit in return, but also I put on his inside the distance prop at minus 135.5 units because he has finished 7 of his 9 wins for Jung Young Lee. So I expect him to get an under 1.5 round knockout in this fight over Jia Yi. The next money line I have up a weight class here is Jekka Saragi to defeat Anshul Jubli. Lightweight fighters here, and Jekka Saragi I got at plus 105. I put 2 units on him, mostly for the reason that I think he should be the favorite in this matchup. I was surprised when I finished the research and saw that this guy was not the favorite. From Indonesia, Jekka Saragi takes on the Indian, undefeated 6-0, Anshul Jubli, who's very talented, new to mixed martial arts in the past several years, but he's picked up a very good, well-rounded skill set. But Jekka Saragi, with his 13-2 record, I just think he's way better on the feet, way more power, way better accuracy, striking selection, and the guy is a scrapper. He gets in his opponent's face the whole time from beginning to end of the fight, and I really do think Jekka Saragi ends this fight somewhere within the stretch by knockout. Now, Anshul Jubli is probably going to know he's outmatched in the feet, probably going to try to take this fight to the mat, but Jekka Saragi has got pretty good grappling as well from what we've seen in his fights up to the road to the UFC so far. So give me Jekka Saragi, 2 units at plus 105. Again, part of the reason is because I'm impressed with his skill set. The other part is just because I think this line should be flipped. I think he should be a moderate-sized favorite in this bout. The next money line I have is an underdog shot once again. This time it's a sizable underdog in Adam Fugit to defeat Yasaku Kinoshita in his debut. Adam Fugit is making a second walk to the cage after giving Michael Morales in the welterweight division a very tough test on 4 days' notice. Less than a week's notice, Adam Fugit came in off the regionals and managed to take one of the highly touted prospects in the welterweight division in Michael Morales to round 3, having some success grounding him in round 1. Adam Fugit is a plus 270 underdog here. I did put 0.75 units on him to defeat Kinoshita, who is making his debut, as I mentioned, off of the Dana White Contender Series, scoring a round 3 TKO stoppage. Kinoshita is dangerous. and I believe in most cases he does win this fight, probably by finish. But we're not looking at most cases. We're looking at a minus 320 favorite in Kinoshita in a debut spot. A young guy at 22 years old, giving up a lot of experience. Adam Fugitt does have a well-rounded, diverse background in mixed martial arts, Muay Thai experience, grappling experience. We saw him get a giant upset in the LFA over Solomon Renfro. He has been knocked out himself, Adam Fugitt. He is very awkward on the feet. This is going to be southpaw versus southpaw. But sometimes these awkward fighters like Adam Fugitt, who are, in their early 30s, they've been around the block in the professional scene. He's seen a lot even competing in Muay Thai. I think he could give a difficult time for Kinoshita in a debut here. So Adam Fugitt, plus 270. I think the money line is far too wide. I did take a 0.75 unit stab on him to pull off the upset. I don't mind people taking the unders in this fight. I think it's a very volatile spot where Fugitt could get in a firefight and get himself knocked out. He could find a submission on the mat. I do think he's the better grappler. But, I could see Adam Fugitt, wrestling his way to a decision here as well in some cases. So, again, money line too wide. I took the stab on it, and we'll see how the newcomer Kinoshita does. That moves us along to the heavyweight division. I do have a bet on Marcin Tybura to defeat Blagoy Ivanov. The Tybura money line moved all the way from minus 200 down to minus 135. So people were liking that Ivanov plus money. I'm not seeing it. I got 2 units on Tybura at this minus 135 price tag. I just think at this point, Tybura, even though he's a year older than Ivanov somehow, I think he's got more of a future in this division at this point in their careers. Blagoy Ivanov, World Series of Fighting champion years ago. This guy is 3-3 in the UFC since 2018, so he's been very inactive, whereas Marcin Tybura has been one of the more active heavyweights and actually doing quite well. He had a 5-fight winning streak not too long ago, only spoiled by Alexander Volkov by decision, and we see how dangerous and elite Alexander Volkov is at this point. So Marcin Tybura winning 6 of his last 7. The guy actually has the redeeming quality in the heavyweight division, which you don't see that much, where he can work his way back into a fight after losing early. We just saw that last time out against Alexander Romanov, where Tybura won that fight by a split decision. And speaking of split decisions, all of Blagoy Ivanov's fights in the UFC so far have been by decision, and a couple of them have been splits. So usually makes fights close. That can be a good or a bad thing, but I think Ivanov's skill set is regressing. He's going to be the less busy man as far as the striking output goes. I think Tybura will actually be the stronger man in the clinch in this bout as well. So give me Tybura to impose his will on a guy whose skill set I see regressing in Ivanov. And for the final moneyline bet, we're going to stay in the heavyweight division, go to the main event, and take another underdog. I've got 1 unit on Derek Lewis at plus 195 to win almost 2. This is a spot where I think he can defeat the younger, less experienced Sergey Spivac. Derek Lewis, of course, he's coming off of back-to-back knockout losses, but these are against some pretty elite, powerful heavyweights. Sergey Spivac, first of all, it'll be his first headlining spot in a main event in the UFC. Derek Lewis, this will be his 10th. He's also challenged for 2 titles before, unsuccessfully, but nobody's really ragdolled him around the way I see people expecting Sergey Spivac to do so. Derek Lewis will still, even with the trimmer physique and some weight loss that we've seen floating around the internet, he'll still be at a size and weight advantage in this fight, I'm pretty sure. Still got to wait for tomorrow for the weigh-ins to really see what changes he's made, but Derek Lewis, as one-dimensional as he has not lost to that many mid-tier to bottom-of-the-barrel heavyweights. Not saying that's what Sergey Spivac is, but we still have yet to see this guy mature past his late 20s. He's 27 years old, and I think Daniel Cormier was probably the best example of a guy who had very good wrestling, able to dominate Derek Lewis and then submit him. Most guys have trouble doing that. Even Curtis Blades is an elite wrestler, got knocked out by Derek Lewis, who game planned appropriately for him. This is a winnable fight for Derek Lewis, who usually loses to very big, physically imposing mobile heavyweights. Guys like Junior Dos Santos, guys like Cyril Gane, Sergey Pavlovich we saw recently. So I don't see many of those traits from the striking of Sergey Spivac. And I think even cardio-wise, Sergey Spivac is going to be maybe a little bit at risk of gassing out if he tries to clinch up too much and muscle around the giant frame of Derek Lewis, who's very explosive and wants to get back up to his feet. Maybe if this does move down the stretch of the fight in round 3, 4, or 5, Sergey Spivac can frustrate Derek Lewis, who we've seen take the exit, take the way out in fights where he knows he's not winning and his cardio starts to wear out. That could happen, but at the money line, we're talking about plus 200 at this point on Derek Lewis. I think he wins more often than that. More often than a third of the time, he probably, gets the knockout. And I think he does get another under 1.5 round knockout in this bout. I think even down the stretch, like I said, if Sergey Spivac's cardio does wear out trying to hold him and muscle him around, Derek Lewis could get in close, use some dirty boxing, and we've seen Sergey Spivac knocked out a few times against lesser tier guys. So give me the underdog shot on Derek Lewis. This does seem like a winnable fight for him. Okay, the remaining bets I have are on some props. I've already mentioned the Young Jung Lee prop that I have on the inside the distance on him. I also have Toshiomi Kazama versus Rinya Nakamura. Fight does not go to decision at minus 170. I put 1.7 units on that. Both guys are finishers, very exciting fighters, and I think Nakamura does get that win. And I think that's still playable even where it's at now, like that minus 220 to minus 200 for the under 2.5 where the fight doesn't go to decision. I also have Nakamura's money line in a parlay with the first fight of the night, Tatsuro Taira versus Jesus Aguilar. That under 2.5 in the flyweight fight. First fight of the prelims at minus 155. So again, the Nakamura money line at minus 425 and the Taira Aguilar flyweight fight under 2.5 rounds at minus 155, parlayed for plus 103 combined parlay odds. I put 1 unit on that parlay. Both are grappling finishers, Aguilar and Tatsuro Taira, but I expect Taira to get the better of this one. He is, quite talented, and he's facing somebody making their debut. So I'm pretty confident in that. Nakamura does tie both of those props together, but I think he is the side in that fight as well over Kazama. So let me know in the comments what you guys think, what best bets and props you have for this fight card. I'm super excited for this late night card on Saturday, and wish you guys the best of luck, and I will talk to you guys next time. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, and we'll talk fights again soon. Cheers.